One. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of CovInspiration with Dayo Israel. To all our viewers on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube, I want to welcome you on the show today. I have in the studio a man of God, my father in the Lord, a mentor. I don't know if you guys can see me on Instagram. I'm now live on Instagram as well. I have in the studio a mentor, a leader, a role model to many, Pastor Ituah Ighodalo with me in the studio. I want to see you guys. I want to see your cheers. I want to see your clap. We have Pastor Ituah in the studio. Daddy, welcome on the show, sir.
Thank you very much, Dayo. Thank you very much.
I'm trying to add you to the Instagram. I haven't done Instagram in a long time because the internet could be challenging, but I think I've sent you the request, so we're good to go. I'm waiting for it to come live, but our viewers are already here on the other platform. So while the guys on Instagram are joining us, Pastor Lou, I already sent the request on Instagram. People are already with us here on Facebook and all the other platforms. Pastor, you're Ituah Ighodalo. What a combination. Are you Yoruba or you are Delta?
Well, that's what Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was a bit confused about. That I say Yoruba ni abi Kobo. But eventually I told them that I am half caste. I'm the only black. I'm the only black half caste in the entire universe. Well, the truth of the matter is that my father is Edo speaking, is from Ewohimi in Edo State, formerly Delta State. And my mother is Yoruba of Ife descent, but grew up in a little town called Okeigbo, which is an Ife military outpost. So while my father gave me the name Ituah, or my grandfather gave me the name Ituah, my mother gave me the name Olajide, that was named after her eldest brother, who died many, many years ago. And that's the way it is.
And your mother seemed to be your favorite fan. Oh, can we know one of the gadget? I think I'm hearing myself on two hands.
It's hearing feedback, so we don't need it. Okay.
Yes, your mom seemed to be your favorite fan.
My mom?
Yes, you say a lot about her. You call her Yoruba name. Yes. What was your relationship like with your mom? It seems that it was an amazing one.
It was a very close relationship. My mother, extremely strict, extremely hardworking, extremely disciplined, and a great disciplinarian, took no nonsense from children and from associates and from subordinates, but also extremely caring, extremely loving, and had this ability to trust you with responsibility even from an early age. So in spite of how disciplined my mother was, I started driving at age 14 or 15, my brother and myself. We had access to the house. We could go and come, but we all had duties in the house that we all had to fulfill and perform, and thereafter we could do whatever we want. And we made our own choices. It was my decision. After primary school, all the other decisions we made in life were ours. It was my decision to go to King's College. It was my decision to go to ISI. It was my decision to go to England for university. And my parents simply backed us up. But they gave us a lot of what is missing in today's world. That is values, ethics, discipline, morality, and a fear of God. So I had many, many, many interesting times with my mom, and I learned many, many things from her. In those days, you would resent the discipline a little bit. You'd be a bit angry with the strictness. But now that I'm an adult, I know that is the best thing that happened to me. And then again, for a long time, my father was in Benin while we were in Ibadan. Okay, so we spent a lot more of our youth with my mom, who was in the Western State Civil Service at the time.
Wow, that's amazing. What would you consider the top 3 lessons that you learned from your mom?
Number one, work hard. Work hard. My mother used to say that hard work does not kill. So you need to work hard. Number two, do the right thing at the right time. Tọ́mọ bá tó gbé ọkọ́ là ń fún lọ́kọ́. Tó bá tó gbé àdá là ń fún ní àdá. So when you are ready for a responsibility, take up that responsibility. And number three, have righteousness and morality. Be well brought up. Remember whose son or whose child you are. Remember that you have a heritage to protect. And of course, money is not everything. A good name is better than silver or gold. And those are the ideals that I have pursued for most of my life, even to the detriment of my financial successes or my financial capabilities. Okay, I've had to give up some of these things because I was following what my mother had taught me.
That's amazing, Daddy, because one of the things that you have been able to build is a good.
I didn't hear.
Can you hear me, sir?
Okay, now I can. I missed you there for a few minutes.
Okay, so you have a good name, and that's what you have built over the years. But beyond the good name, one thing that you've also done is to be able to distinguish yourself as a leader, not just on the pulpit, but in the place of power, in the circle of leadership, where some of these things inspired by your mother. I know that she played a role in the government. She was a permanent secretary. I think one of the first ones in Western Nigeria. Was this where you also learned some of your finesse and some of your, would I say, values and passion for government and politics?
Absolutely. When a lot of people see me talking about Nigeria and how I want Nigeria to succeed and how we should make sure we choose good leaders and all that, it wasn't something that I thought about. It was something that I was born into. My mother was the first woman permanent secretary, perhaps in the whole of Africa, but definitely in Nigeria. She was passionate about governance, passionate about her job. And we grew up in the secretariat. We grew up hanging around her in the secretariat, and she carried us on most of her tours. And there was prayer for Nigeria in my house ever since I can remember. Since I was a child, we used to have fellowship midweek in our house. And at the end of the fellowship, we would definitely pray for Nigeria. She would bring to the fellowship the challenges of the government at the time, where the government was going wrong, blah, blah, blah. And then some of the challenges she was having in her office. And we would pray. When I grew older, my mother started a daily prayer for Nigeria when she retired from the service. She ran a poultry, and anybody who came to buy eggs in my mother's poultry had to pray for Nigeria before they bought their eggs, especially if you came between the hours of 12 and 2 when the prayer was being said. You first of all put down your tray, you joined them in the fellowship center, you prayed for Nigeria, you prayed for the north, you prayed for the east, you prayed for the south, you prayed for the west, and then you go back to do your business of the day. And then once a week, we also had a vigil, largely directed towards Nigeria. You must know that at this time she was retired. So in terms of material needs, she had very little. Her children had graduated from school, and she said to us that what I can give you is education. From now on, please make your way. I have nothing more to give any child, and I have no inheritance or will that I am leaving behind. So make your way. And I'm not going to beg anybody for any one of you. Just go out there and make your way. What I'll do is to pray for you and pray that you meet favor. So I got that passion for Nigeria from my mom. Even before she died, she used to go around all the states. She went to the Alaafin of Oyo, told them to reconcile with Afonja, went to Warri, spoke to the Olu of Warri, told them to stop, to make some, what you may call, restitution for the amount of Oyibo blood that they are killed in those areas. That perhaps that is what is responsible for the lack of development in the South. She went to Ijebu, spoke to the Awujale, and so on and so forth. She had this spiritual campaign for Nigeria to cleanse the land. And one man who used to go around with her is a guy called Apostle Sunday Popola. He runs a church in Ibadan. He's still alive. Maybe one day you will talk to him and he will tell you exactly how they used to go around Nigeria. So my mother was very passionate about Nigeria, and she will not take any nonsense from anyone.
Wow. So when I sent out the invite tonight and I said that you were going to be speaking, I got a response from some of my friends that said, this man is smart. Another one said, very smart. Then the third person replied, this man should leave the pulpit and govern his state. And then there was a bit of argument. Someone now replied, you can still own your church while serving as a governor. He said, please ask him. We need help. Well, Pastor, have you considered going into politics? Would you run for governor someday?
First of all, it's not my church. It is God's church in my care. Secondly, I should have gone into politics in 1999. And one of the fallacies or the mistakes we made in Christianity in 1999 was to convince ourselves that politics was dirty. What has light got to do with darkness? That was the gospel at that time, but it was a wrong gospel, because light controls darkness and not the other way around. So I wish that I had gone into politics in 1999. Although, in fairness, I didn't have much resource, because I'd been hardworking, I'd been honest, I'd not given bribe, I'd not taken bribe, I'd not corrupted myself. And if you're hardworking and honest in Nigeria, it's a slightly slower climb. If you're not a sycophant, it's a slightly slower climb. If you're not ready to negotiate. I remember I did one job in Abuja, and after the job, they sat me around and they were shaking their legs and saying, what is their own there? I'll confess that I gave them their own, but it totally discouraged me from going back to Abuja. After that, I stopped going because I felt that I had betrayed myself, betrayed my mom, betrayed my... I wasn't even a Christian then. This was in the late 80s, early 90s. You know, they sat me around, some directors in the ministry, before Abuja became what Abuja is. So if I had moved into Abuja then and did what they were doing when Abuja was blind, you can imagine how rich I would be. But that thing so discouraged me that I stopped going to Abuja completely. And I said, if this is the kind of thing they're going to be offering me in Abuja, I am not interested. Okay? And they will call me and say, oh, God, you haven't come again. I say, I'm coming. I never went because I was so discouraged. We still believe then in ethics, in morality, in the rule of the law, and in fairness. We didn't know that we were almost backing up a wrong tree. Okay? So we didn't get into politics in time. And when I became born again, I started pastoring Christ Church in 1999. And I thought that what I needed to do was to build up the church, raise it up very well, and do my best. And God will sort out governance, because our leaders had told us that politics is dirty. When I changed my mind completely was that there was a governor friend of mine that I helped to introduce to our general overseer at the time. And the man ran and he won. So when the man became governor and he was coming to camp, they gave him a priority seat. They gave him all the respect and all the adoration of a governor. And I looked at myself and I said, but this is the man I brought to you. And you told me not to go into politics. So why are you giving him so much respect? Why are you giving him so much regard? And I said, no, no, no.
Attention.
Why? I said, no. I started to read my Bible again, and I discovered that the hand of the prophet is on top of the hand of the king, and that we needed to drive politics. And that's why my political orientation became renewed again. And I started to make sure that we went into all manners of people development. Again, that gave me a bit of friction with the church at the time, thinking that I was self-seeking and looking for popularity. But that wasn't it. I was just trying to develop people and empower them. Now at my age, it's looking a little bit late for me to now start wanting to run for governorship of a state. My state is Edo State. Next year, I'm 60 years old. Honestly, do I now start wanting to start running for governorship of Edo State when we need a 45 or a 50-year-old governor who has energy and strength? I'll rather be the pastor to the governor or to the kingmaker than to be the governor myself. I'd rather be his advisor, because I'm not going to government to make money. I just want there to be good governance. So that is my thinking. You understand? But that is how I'm thinking right now. So I don't know what tomorrow will bring, okay? But all I want is that I want good governance in every aspect of Nigeria, in every state of Nigeria. Why? Nigeria deserves it. Nigeria is one of the most blessed nations in the whole world, and there's no reason why we should be where we are. The Bible says that we are living near the ocean, and we're washing our hands with spittle. It says, I have seen kings walking and beggars riding on horses. He says, God forbid. So that is why I want to use the rest of my life, the rest of my energy, the rest of my ability to pursue a purpose, perhaps a movement that will ensure that there's good governance in Africa, not just Nigeria, because Africa deserves a chance. I don't care who wants to be governor. I don't care who wants to be president. I have no personal interest or agenda in anybody. Anybody can aspire to anything, but you must qualify. If you are going to go into university, you must pass JAMB. If you are going to do a PhD, you must have a 2-1 or a 2-2 and do a master's. If you are going to run a state, you must show us your competence, your ability, what you have done before, your exposure, your knowledge, your vision for that state, and your plans. One of the problems with the parties we have today is that they're not really parties. They're associations for political interest. There's no party ethos. There's no party fundamentals. There's no party character. The party is not above a lot of the people. So most of the people who have run for office have run for office on their own steam. So they are uncontrollable by the party. They say, how much did the party give me? How much support did they give me? I just used their platform to run for governance. And that is not what it's supposed to be. The party should be superior to the people. The last time we had that kind of thing was in the days of Action Group and maybe the other party that Chief Obafemi Awolowo formed, because he was a strong leader, Unity Party of Nigeria. That's the last time we had a situation where you had a party that had an ethos, that had a direction, that had a vision, that wanted to do things for the people. Today, people just gather together. They say, let us win the election. When we get into government house, we'll be deciding what we want to do. It's not supposed to be so. It's unfair to these poor people on the streets, these people who have no job, these people who have no hope. Why should we have the highest population of illiterates in Nigeria 60 years after independence? Where did the money go to educate the people? A lot of people are slightly jealous of the western part of Nigeria. But the only reason is that in 1953, a gentleman said, on advice from one of his ministers of education, let us provide free education for everybody from Western Nigeria. Before they were going to university, the first lawyer was a Westerner, the first this was a Westerner, the first accountant was a Westerner, and so on and so forth. And then they gave free education. Abiola was a product of this free education business. Why is everybody now complaining? Why didn't you educate your people also? You have to educate your people. A nation in darkness, a nation in illiteracy cannot thrive. Lee Kuan Yew built Singapore on the backbone of education. He took the best people in Singapore. He sent them to the best universities anywhere in the world. He made them sign a bond to come back and work for the Singaporean government for 6 or 7 years. After that, they can go anywhere they want. So he got the best brains to run the country. China is doing exactly the same today. Before you can become a district head in China, you would have run a council. After you run the council, you run the state. After you run the state, you run a district of about 1.2 million or 120 million people. At every stage, every year, they assess your performance so that only the best can aspire to the top. And therefore, somebody in China, I was listening to him on the WhatsApp the other day. He says people like Obama and George Bush cannot be more than counselors in China. He says, with all due respect, because by the time they try them, they exercise them, they check them out, they see that even though they may be smart or intelligent, they lack experience. And experience is very, very important. And that's one of the things that the military incursion denied us of. The military should never have come into Nigerian political space. We should have been allowed to evolve with all our mistakes that we were making. And by now, Nigeria would have been a different place. I was asking a lady a hypothetical question the other day. I said, how do you think Nigeria would have been? No, Sonny, on my Instagram page. How do you think Nigeria would have been had the military never come in? Would have had the best, because at that time, it was the best of the best that were going into politics. Tafawa Balewa was one of the best from the north. The Saudana was one of the best from the north. When you hear their thoughts, their spoken English, their attitudes, you know they were very good people. The Awolowas, they were the best from the west.
Pedigree.
They had pedigree, they had education, they had exposure. Zik of Africa, accomplished. Herbert Macaulay, H.O. Davis. I was even thinking of the old man today. Great man, great lawyer, who spent a lot of his time and energy in Nigeria. But the military came and they truncated it and they discouraged people like us from going into governance. By the time I was maturing, my father said to me, don't go into government. Go and be a professional. Go and be a professional. In hindsight, it wasn't very good advice. But it depends on how you look at it. Maybe I would have gone into government and corrupted myself. And by now, one's name will be a byword. But we need the best of the best in our governance. Nigerians are some of the most brilliant people in the world. I'll just close with this story. A classmate of mine called Olagunju Ogunbiyi is a doctor and a surgeon, I think a thoracic surgeon in London. He was my classmate since primary school, and we went into King's College together in 1973, January. When we were in school, Lagunju was at best an average student. Brilliant, intelligent, but he just didn't bother to pull his weight much. So he came 15th, 18th, 20th. But he then went on, I think he got an aggregate 19 or 22 in school cert, and went on to London to study medicine. And he graduated from medicine. He did extremely well in medicine, and he became this great surgeon. Unfortunately, about 4 weeks or 5 weeks ago, he contracted COVID-19, and it was really touch and go. You saw it in the Instagram. They were clapping for him as he came out of the ward. And it was really, really touch and go. And they kept him in suspended animation for about 2.5 weeks. And eventually he came out of it and he got his health back. He's now home recuperating. When they asked the British people his hospital where he worked, I think St. Mary's or whatever it is, say, you people saved this man's life. The people turned around and said, he's irreplaceable. He is irreplaceable. His skills are irreplaceable. So we did all that we could. We fought day and night to rescue him. The only person that got an ovation exiting out of COVID ward was the Prime Minister. Lagunju is the second person. They said he is irreplaceable, meaning that an average King's College student goes to London and becomes irreplaceable. Imagine the amount of capacity we have in Nigeria. Imagine the amount of brilliance that is going to waste. Imagine all the things that we're contending with. So I am begging Nigerians that we should give Nigeria a chance, because this country, there's more than enough for all of us. More than enough for every single Nigerian to work hard, to thrive, to live a comfortable life if we allow the rule of law to play. Thank you, Dayo. I think I will stop there.
Thank you, Papa. Thank you, Papa. Before I go to the next aspect of this conversation, I want to read to you the feedback from the group I told you about. They have already created your cabinet, and they have already assigned portfolio to cabinet members. They are even already raising funding for the campaign. Someone said, we have Deputy Governor Arese Alonge nominee to support him. He shouldn't worry. In fact, half of the government are in new leaders. Culture and Tourism Commissioner Kika Goodyear. We can outsource works to Sujimoto. Olanre Badmos, Al Biniman can serve as SSG. Ahmad Damsida can assist the economic management team. Campaign #Bendel Restoration. We can bring out 5 billion for the whole program to win. Please ask him. Folks like him appear to be our last frontier, because the governance bug that beleaguer every Nigerian that gets a taste defies natural approach. Most of all, God made prophet leaders in biblical history. That's going to lead me to, so the whole cabinet is ready for you if you decide to run. The people are ready to put money down if you decide to run. My next question, you said the hand of the prophet is on top of the king. Please tell us more about this, sir.
Well, tell your people they should show the color of their money. If they are serious, they should show the color of their money. Tell them they should show
let me record that.
They should show the color.
Please say that again, sir.
Tell your people that they should show the color of their money. They should show the color of their money. 5 billion they're talking about. They should show the color of their money. Then
okay,
that's all I have to say.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
The hand of the prophet is always on top. You know, God's original plan was not a democracy, was not a kingship, a royalty, but was a theocracy. That is God ruling the earth through men. And that's why for the first maybe 1,000 years of the history of the Jews, they had no king. They had judges. And judges were ordinary people. Some of them were prophets. Some of them were warriors. Some of them were farmers. Some of them were sages. They were not even of the tribe of Levi all the time. And God would just raise them up as needed, fill them with the Holy Spirit, and then begin to speak through them and direct the affairs of the Israelites to get them out of trouble. As a matter of fact, ideally, what God wanted was a small council of judges just to judge simple disputes and matters, with maybe a first among equals, like Moses was, first among 72 judges, just judging disputes. provided the people will be in full obedience to God, then he will make them peaceful. That's where Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1 to 14 came from. It says, if you will obey and do all the dictates of your Lord your God, then these blessings will follow you and overtake you. The problem with the Israelites was that there was homosexuality sometimes, there was whoredom sometimes, there was prostitution, there was adultery, there was idol worship, and all manners of things through contamination from the Amalekites, from the Philistines, from the Ammonites, from all the various hamlets that they didn't destroy. What God said was, I destroy all these people so that they will not tempt you, so that they will not corrupt you. But the Israelites didn't obey God, and that's where part of the problem started. Eventually, in 2 Samuel, I think chapter 5 or chapter whatever, they started to ask for a king, or maybe no, 1 Samuel chapter 17 or so. They started, chapter 14, they started to ask for a king because Samuel was getting old. His children were not behaving well. So Samuel said to the people, don't ask for a king. If you ask for a king, you are rebelling against God. It is not me you are rebelling against. Ask God to raise up another judge for you. Me, I'm your judge. I live in my own private house. I don't take taxes from you. I don't steal your children. I don't take your wives. I don't demand anything from you. My cabinet is very small. I just go around the circuit by myself with my assistant, and I judge all the cases I can. And then when it's time for sacrifice, I make the sacrifices, and I pray to God on your behalf. What more do you want? And you have relative peace, because I'm interceding all the time. You want a king who will have a chariot, who will have protocol, who will have a siren, who will have an ambulance following him up and down all over the place, who will have a retinue of servants. When your wife is pregnant, you will say, bring your wife to me. I want to have her, and so forth. Don't bother yourself. They said, no, we want a king that will fight about us. We want a king that will fight about us. So God said to Samuel, give them their king, but you will have a right of place. The king must come to you to hear what God is saying. So as soon as Saul was made king, Samuel became his mentor, his coach, his advisor, the one who told him what God was doing. And the 2 times that Saul made a mistake was simply because he was trying to usurp Samuel's role. God had a dichotomy, an independent judiciary, an independent prophethood, and a kingship, because God knew that the kingship needed control and supervision. So when it was time to anoint the king, it was the prophet that anointed the king, poured oil on his head, and said, this is the king that God has chosen. When the nation was in trouble, the king would go to the prophet. What is God saying? And the prophet would say. So when the nation was in trouble in 2 Kings, chapter 3, 4, 5, 6, they went to Elisha the prophet, and they said, there's trouble, there's trouble, there's trouble. How do we kill the Amorites? And Elisha says, put your hand down. Let my hand be on top of your hand, and then shoot. If my hand is guiding your hand, you will always have victory. That's where the saying came, the hand of the king, the hand of the prophet is always on top of the hand of the king. And even till today, in Britain, in England, when you are going to appoint the new king, it is the Archbishop of Canterbury, the head of the British church, or the highest bishop, that comes to pour oil on the head of the new king and anoint them as king. And that is how God now, that was a compromise that God made, that prophets and great men of God will always stand in the gap and speak what God is saying. But what has happened over the years is that government has pocketed prophets so that prophets can no longer talk because of this love for money, which is the beginning of all evil, this fear of government. But the thing that saved Israel from the hands of David when he fell into adultery was a prophet called Nathan, who went to David, told him a story. David says, bring that man, I'll kill him. And Nathan says, thou art the man. I don't know how many prophets will go to Asorok, point at Buhari, point at Oshibajo, point at Jonathan, point at Olusegun Obasanjo, and tell him, thou art the man. Elisha said to the king of Israel, Ahab, says, you are the troubler of Israel, you and all your generations. How many pastors, how many bishops, how many popes, how many cardinals can really do that? If you try, like Archbishop Olubunmi Okoje, they've spoken. From time to time, they threaten them here and there. But they must not be weary. They must not be tired. They must speak. But they're too few and far between. Everybody is hiding his head and dodging. Hiding. What are you hiding your head for when the nation is going amiss? How can elders be in the market and the head of the newborn child is twisting? That's what the Yoruba say, that the elders cannot be in the market. The midwives who know about childbirth, and then they are watching. The head of the child is twisting as it's coming out of the mother's womb. That is not acceptable. So we Nigerians, we must rise up. Number one, to tell ourselves the truth. What is in the best interest of the generality of Nigerians, not the smallness of a few? What is in the best interest of my Al-Majiri brother in Kano, in Kaduna, in Nasarawa? Is it to be denied education? How far is he going to go if he's not educated, empowered, and unskilled? He's going to be a liability to government. He's not going to be able to produce. How will he be a drain on taxpayers' money? In my grandfather's days, everybody planted what they ate. Nobody was a drain on anybody's resource. Everybody must be able to work and contribute. How can you deny people education when education is the source of livelihood? How can you deny people skill when you need to skill them and empower them? It is unfair. It is not good. It is bad. Everybody deserves a chance to live, to survive, to work hard, and to achieve. And the duty of government is to provide that environment. That is what they call today the American dream. Come to America, set up your tent, work hard. Tomorrow, you can become president. Even if, like Barack Obama, your father was a Kenyan. As long as you were born in America, work hard and aspire. Of course, there's still a bit of racism, or even a lot of racism and all that in America. But that is because people allow it. We must break the glass ceiling and fight for our rights. Each man is created equal in the sight of God. And that's what's important. Give everybody a chance and a place in the sun. And the government will be better off for it. These people will work, they will produce, they will pay taxes. They will no longer be a liability to anybody. Now we're looking for where to throw them. It's totally unfair. I'm so pained for these people. If they had the resource, I mean, I know Nigerians, they will soon take me up again. I'll come and pack some of my Jerry in my house. But honestly, this is what we should do. We should be kind to these people, educate them, open their eyes. The reason why I'm here talking to you is because my father had the privilege of going to school. My mother had the privilege of going to school. I had the privilege of going to school. That's why I'm here. I have cousins in the village, first cousins who didn't go to school, and they can't talk because they're not educated. By now, the whole of Nigeria should be educated, and Nigeria would have been a different place. They will know how to vote. They will vote right. They will know how to think. They will be productive. They will look after their children. They will be having children like flies all over the place. They will know good health, hygiene. The nation will be better off for it. And that's what Singapore is doing. Everybody in Singapore is educated. Forget the fact that they're a smaller population than us. It's just a desire to do things. We have much more resource than them. They have absolutely no resource, none whatsoever. And yet they have worked magic. Dubai was a desert 40 years ago. They came to Nigeria to beg us for money. We said to them, we're not interested in investing in a desert. Now we're begging to buy houses in Dubai. Isn't that an irony? In 40 short years of vision. 40 short years of vision. They say Dubai or the UAE, where anything is possible. Shouldn't that tell us something? Yet our leaders go to all these places. They like the places. They buy houses there. They go for vacation there. Then they come back to Nigeria and they start to mess up. It's unbearable. It's unbearable. We must try. My generation, we must try. We must try our best. And if we don't succeed, at least we know we have tried. We know we have tried. I want every leader in Nigeria to please rise up and think good for Nigeria. If you're a governor today, you can never be poor. You don't need to steal money. You don't need to deny the people of education. You cannot be. How much do you want to spend in your lifetime? How much? Barack Obama made money from selling books after he had become president. He made money from giving speeches. He made money from respect that people gave him. And Barack says, I have more than enough money than I can ever need in my life. And I'm sure Barack doesn't have more than $50 to $100 million, all told. There are Nigerian senators that have much more than that. How is that possible? So we need to look at ourselves. How much does a man need? When tomorrow you die, everybody is going into a grave that's 6 feet by 6 feet by 3 feet. Just tomorrow. Tomorrow you die. You are going into the grave. And if you are not careful, even your children will come and look for you in that grave. I go to the mortuary and I go to the graveyard a lot. Everywhere overgrown with weeds. Thank God for Ebony and thank God for the other place in Ikoyi. Fulton Gardens. Everywhere is overgrown. People have forgotten that you ever lived. People have forgotten that you were ever powerful. People have forgotten that you ever had money. So what's it all about? What is it all about? Last thing I'll say, there are very many good men. There are few great men, but there's almost no truly exceptional man. Exceptional man. Truly a statesman. Because people are not ready to pay the sacrifice of statehood. They talk about it, but they play lip service to it. Jesus says, what greater love does a man have than to give up his life for his friends? Not very many people are ready to give up their lives. Then Jesus said also, if thou wilt be perfect, if thou will be a statesman without blemish, if that will be great and mighty and exceptional, sell all you have. Use it to empower poor people, and you will have greatness on earth and treasures in heaven. If you talk to a rich 90-year-old Nigerian today, that Baba, you are 90, you have 20 houses, you have 40 cars, you have 3 houses in London, Baba, etagogo kini, sell them and give it to the poor. He said, we Bolotimbo, where are you coming from? I said, Baba, you are 90. Tolomba Darijin, Tolomba Shanu Fuyin, boye she 120. But owo te ma no, oúnjẹ te ma jẹ, ilé te ma gbé is not denied of you. So what are you doing? Collecting rent from 25 houses in Lagos. Some of them, they've even forgotten where those houses are. Sell them. Okay, you have 5 children, Baba, or 10. Give a house to each of your children. Shut up. Put 10 million, 20 million into each of their accounts. Shut up. The remaining 15 houses, clever efficient. You are 90. Your wife is 88. Clever efficient. But they would never agree. So a lot of families are suffering because their fathers never agreed to distributing his wealth while he was alive. And today, Families are in court. They can't access the money. The money is any money in Switzerland, any money in London, any money in Tokyo, any money in Singapore, boosting their economies because Baba put his hands in the pocket and never brought it out. It's unfair. And yet, 12 million Nigerians are not in school. It's not fair. That's all I have to say. The whole essence of life was that there was something the Israelites called the Jubilee, which they celebrated every 49 years. But every 7 years, they canceled all debts. They raised up the poor. They restored them. They reorganized their lives until today. That practice is going on in Israel today. If you go to Palestine and Israel, it's like chalk and cheese. Almost in Israel, you don't see any poverty. But when you get to Palestine, you see a lot of poverty. Why? Because the Israelites go out of their way to try and empower one another. And that is what we need to do in Nigeria. And that's one of the things I admire the Igbos for, empowering one another. The only problem with them is that they're too competitive over money. There's no need for that. You have 6 houses in the village. What are you doing with those houses in the village? Why are you wasting resource? You hardly go to the village twice a year, you go. But you must show your people in the village that you have come to Lagos and you have survived and you have succeeded. We need to get our priorities reoriented.
There's so much to take in. Before I ask my next question, I want to say a big hi to Aisha Sese CNN. I saw her join the conversation now. Aisha, thank you for joining the conversation.
Hello, Aisha. How are you? God bless you.
You've spoken a lot, sir. I have a lot of messages from viewers. Let me read a few of them. Dayo just said, truly, Daddy has given more to Nigerian than most people know. I remember when he prophesied about the black president, and the next election, Obama became president. Talking about you, sir. There's also Cladfix. It says, good evening, Dayo. This is Dr. Sunday Pokwala, UK. I think Pastor Ighodalo should become the education minister to help change the mind of our youth. I have another one from Falashadi Alachiki. She says, great. If you're on the YouTube and the Facebook link, you'll be able to see the comment. And Dayo Johnson says, Daddy, of course, can lead in any capacity. The church must drive leadership. Clark says, Nigeria would have good confidence if we educate our youth well with good mindset to govern our country. Remy Majekojubi says, good discussion, but right now, the best are in the grave, buried and dead. My friend, if you put a Nigerian young man to rule us today, it would do same as the current thieves that are there right now. A young, educated Nigerian want to build a mansion, big cars, women, and show up looted like the adult political elite. I'm not apologetic for this comment. This is just the reality. God help Nigeria. Please, can you respond to Mr. Majekodumi's message? I'm sure you can see it on the screen.
I can see it. I have a question to ask Mr. Majekodumi. Looking at his face, I'm sure he's not quite young anymore. But I need to ask him a question. If you were made governor of your state, probably Egba State or probably Ogun State, would you marry new wives? Would you build a mansion? Would you run business as usual? I'm sure you will not. You are one of the Nigerians we're looking for. And I'm sure they feel like you. Like I said, my friend Gunji Ogunbiyi lives a very moderate life in London, despite all his achievements. My friend Dr. Ishiku in Atlanta, the second or third best neurosurgeon in America, lives a moderate life. My friend Yeli Aluko, also in the US, lives a very moderate life. Bayo Yewole, they're all there. They live moderate lives. They're not They're not too enticed by the things of this world. The problem is that a lot of them are abroad like you. Okay? That's the problem. And we need to bring some of them back. I dare say I live a reasonably moderate life. I have been there, seen there, done it all. By God's grace, I made money early and I lost money early. And I never lacked for anything in my life. There must be a few people like that. God said to Abraham, if I find 10 virtuous people in Sodom and Gomorrah, I will not destroy the place. I'm sure we can find 50 people, Nigerians, who will be ready. Dayo Israel, who bought Gatwick through structuring, he's there. He's a Nigerian. He went to King's College. We grew up together in Ibadan. His brother, Folabi, and I were schoolmates in King's College. His older brother and I are friends till today in Nigeria. His sister is my friend. He's not smoke that we cannot hold. There are many of them like that who are a little bit above that fray. Part of what I am trying to do is to gather them together and tell them that all hope is lost for Nigeria. My friend Banjo Aluko is a professor in Ife. Banjo is not a fantastically rich man. He dedicated himself to his agricultural engineering, and he did as best as he could as a professor there. So there are quite a few people who are like that, who are still ready to work hard and to sacrifice for Nigeria. The issue now is to find them and to beg them and to appeal to them that naked you came, naked you are going to go. That is our job, to change the minds of the people. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. I have never seen any man buried with his wealth. Napoleon, the Greek, said so. He says, nobody gets with his achievements. You get buried with your hand empty. We need to understand that. People don't seem to understand that. They don't learn from history. We've seen our leaders come and go. We've seen them. We've seen them die. People don't even remember them 2 years after they are dead. Then you see one lone remembrance by one family member. This was the same man 2 years ago when he celebrated the birthday of his left toe. The newspapers couldn't let us know. So we need to learn from history and be ready to serve this nation so that we can leave something better than money behind. And that is a good name. A good name is better than silver or gold. Mandela did it. It is not impossible. Until today, nobody goes to South Africa, black, white, yellow, or blue, that will not go through Mandela's house, that will not go through Pretoria, that will not go through, if possible, Soweto, that will not go through Cape Town, the prison where he was, because the man stood out and said, silver and gold have I not, but what I have, I give to you. Rise up in the name of God and walk. We need leaders who will say, it's not silver, it's not gold. We need the power of God to raise our people up so that they can walk and stop begging. Did you hear what I said? We need people that will raise up our people so that they can walk, they can run, they can leap and stop begging. This economy where we have more beggars than productive people is totally unfair.
I have very limited time, but I still have a final area I want us to get to. And it's the area of course, Pastor Ibido. How did you know Pastor Ibido was the one? You were meant to be praying and being in the spirit, but how did you notice that, there's this beautiful sister who, has the fear of God, most beautiful girl in Nigeria?
You're a naughty man.
How did you know she was the one, sir?
You're a naughty man. Well, being a pastor was something that you go around with your eyes closed. I met Ibido through a friend, BC, at a wedding that I went to. I wasn't supposed to go to that wedding, and she struck me. She just had this presence about her that struck me, and I didn't even talk to her that day, and I left. I think BC must have noticed the second glance I gave Ibido, and she facilitated for us to meet. And when we met, it was her soul rather than her face that encouraged and struck me. She had this very innocent soul. She had this desire.
You find her soul on the first sight, sir.
Eh?
Sorry, sir. I'm trying to understand. How did you see that soul on the first meeting?
I didn't say I saw the soul on the first meeting. There was something about the face that struck me on the first meeting. I must confess.
Okay, sir.
Second glance. And everybody who knew me then knew that I had no time for that. So BC, she's a very good friend of mine. She noticed that second glance. So she called me up and says, man of God, why not? And she arranged for us to meet. And I must be eternally grateful to her. And then when we met, of course, there are many beautiful women around me, many, many beautiful women. I had no lack for beauty around me at that time. You understand? But there was something about her soul, pure, innocent, willing to learn, needing direction, needing support. And somehow I made up my mind, not just that I wanted to marry her, but I wanted to look after her. She had lost her father early. She was about 14 or 15 when her father died. And I knew that she was searching for a compass in life. And I dedicated the rest of my life to try and make sure that I could help her find that compass in life. And I have stuck to that.
Wow.
I have really stuck to that promise. And I have tried. And I've encouraged her as best as I can. And she truly, truly has a good soul. She cares. She's a very loving person. She's a feisty fighter when she needs to fight. And I've seen her fight once in a while. I've had to beg her to calm down, that the days of fighting are a little bit over. But she has a good soul. She cares about people. If Ibido is in your corner, she can cut off her left hand or right hand and give it to you so that you can survive. And she's very creative, with all due respect, apart from being married. She's one of the most creative people and one of the most hardworking people I have ever seen. And we're friends, we're good friends. We talk, we laugh, we play. I can be myself. As a pastor, it's important that you marry somebody you can be yourself with. I can't stand on the pulpit every day, strong pastor, unshakable, immovable. Then you get home again, strong pastor, unshakable, immovable. No, pastors are burning. Pastors have pain. Pastors have hurt. So if somebody that I can share my pain with, and she won't go out there and expose me or tell people that that pastor he's always shakara on the pulpit. When he came home last night, he was shaking like a leaf, and that is what I have enjoyed with Ibido. And I think to myself, not very many women would even do that. You see, a lot of people marry persona, they marry image, they marry what they think of you. They think pastors are infallible. But you were first a man before a pastor, and you still have your fears. I'm believing God right now for a miracle, a big miracle as a pastor. I'm praying for it, that God will do it for me. We all have our needs. Even Elisha had his needs. Elijah had his needs. Even Jesus Christ had to pray sometimes to have his needs met, and so on and so forth. So pastors need to be real. They need to be simple. They need to be ordinary people. They need to be friends of their people. They need to connect with the masses. They must not live this life that is larger than life. And then inside, there's fear, there's anxiety, they're burning inside. No, they are just playing a role, and it is God that is doing his work. And that's
Daddy, on the Instagram, we're going to disconnect, but we'll come back. But on YouTube, we're still live. on the Instagram. Keep going, sir. I will come back live on the internet. I think we've done 1 hour and then it automatically cuts.
Okay, that's fine. I think I've answered your
So
question.
I
So
can
we're
hear you
friends,
on the other platform.
and we look out for one another, and we have a good relationship.
Yes, sir. That's amazing, sir. What would be your final words to our viewers to inspire us to leave us with in this season? What would be your final words to us about living and maximizing the season that we find ourselves, this COVID-19 season?
Yeah, COVID-19 is fortunate and unfortunate, but I want to look at the fortunateness, if there's such a word, of COVID-19. What it has done for a lot of us is that it's given us the opportunity to see life from a different perspective. A lady came to see me this evening, a doctor, and she said that for the past 2 months, she's been wearing only her most comfortable clothes. She's already realized that 3/4 of her wardrobe she does not need. Dr. Oyalo is her name. I don't mind mentioning her name. And a lot of people are like that. A lot of people have had to perform their marriages, their funerals, without all the usual fanfare. It
I'm back
means,
on Instagram.
okay, good. It means that a lot of the things that we kill ourselves over are not really, really important. Or I, on my part, I've given out a lot of things from my wardrobe because I suddenly also realized that I really don't need these things and I don't really have to wear them ever again. So that's one of the lessons of COVID. The second one is care. Care. I love to see people sharing palliatives, all sorts of big girls from Ikoyi, big girls from Banana Island, everywhere sharing palliatives. One lady called me, says, you have a lot of vagrants behind your church. You must do something about them. I said, wow, these vagrants have been there for a long time. It's taking COVID for everybody to discover them. So again, all of a sudden, people realize that you can actually be your brother's keeper. That's the second about COVID-19. The third is that it has drawn us closer to God. People are praying more now. People are more conscious now. People are this and that. And the fourth is that our personal hygiene has improved considerably. But the fifth is that it is clear that God is not happy with man. All the immorality, adultery, bad sexual habits, bad spending and management of money, arrogance, corruption, although I hear even with the COVID, people are still being corrupt here and there, managing some of those funds. But by and large, it has shown a lot of us that God is supreme. God is supreme. So these are the lessons I have learned from COVID. But what is the encouraging way forward? Number one, it always comes to pass. This season is not forever. There was one in 1980. After 2 years, everything got settled. So this is going to come to pass, definitely. Number two, we need to improve and better use our processes, the things that we do, how we do those things, and so on and so forth. Number three is an opportunity to reset your life, to rethink, to reorder your priorities, and know in which direction God really wants you to go. You know, the most important thing to men is not money, it's not houses, it's not clothes, it's not even children. The most important thing to every man is making sure they fulfill God's will for their lives. COVID gives all of us an opportunity to talk to God and find out what God's will for our lives is. It is when you truly discover and fulfill God's will that you can truly be very great. Otherwise, you might just be good or average. When you discover and fulfill God's will for your life, that you can truly be very great. It says, Jesus Christ of Nazareth went to the cross and laid himself on the cross. And God so exalted him that at the name of Jesus, every knee shall bow, of things in heaven, of things on earth, of things beneath the earth. All the running around we're doing, all the personal ambition, all the desire to do this and that, not bad. But the most critical thing is it God's will for your life? If God really wants you to do this thing, and you pray to God, and you ask God to help you, God will make a way. We need to understand that. And we need to, and God will help us in Jesus' name. So let nobody be afraid.
Amen. Please say a word of prayer for us before you leave.
It is my privilege to do so. In the name of Jesus, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, my Father and my God, first of all, I thank you for my son, Dayo. Thank you for all his efforts. His efforts will not go to stray. His efforts will not be amiss. His efforts will be one of the pillars to turn Nigeria around. And I pray, Lord, that it shall be well with him, his wife, his children, and all that you are going to say through his loins, in the name of Jesus Christ. I pray for everybody under the sound of my voice tonight. I ask, oh Lord, that you visit them with mercy, you visit them with grace, you visit them with the possibilities and potentials of life, and they will never fail in the name of Jesus Christ. Above all, I wish that every Nigerian will know you, that they will give their lives to you, that they will be born again, and they will serve you, and above all, fulfill their purposes in life in Jesus' name. Father, protect this nation. Protect our leaders. Give them the wisdom to guide this nation aright. Muhammadu Buhari, Yemi Osinbajo, the ministers, the governors. Help them, O Lord, even at this hour, to do the right thing by Nigeria, so that your people can come, so that Nigeria will be well. Amen. And I bless you in the name of the Father. I bless you in the name of the Son. I bless you in the name of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Jesus' mighty name.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. We're so blessed. Where the 1 hour has just flown away like that. We haven't even got into the meat of what I wanted to speak about, but we're so blessed. And we hope that you honor our invitation again, Papa, to come back again in the future so that we can also be blessed one more time. But we're so blessed. Adedeji Emmanuel says, following you for years now, Pastor Ituah. Your relationship with Pastor Adeboye, Emir of Kano and all. You are a leader with a big heart. Thank you for all that you do for the youth and the body of Christ. I would like to have you as a mentor. A lot of people have been asking for mentorship. Ikeke Unigbe says, your message have always been so great, sir, and a blessing to all. More grace. Ladies and gentlemen, Pastor Ituah Ighodalo, our father in the Lord, and the future governor of Edo State. Thank you so much. We'll show you the color of the money, sir. Thank you, Daddy. God bless you. Thank you, Pastor Olu. Thank you, everyone at Trinity House, for your help and for putting this together.